So last month we spoke about creating in the age of distraction, finding time and pushing through all the things that are keeping us from doing our creative work, how we can get back to a creative or consistent creative life. This time I want to talk about why it feels so good to create with your hands. In the age of technology, that's not such a silly question to ask. Working old school, creating something physically and getting involved physically with that. So let's look into that a little closer. So let's say you've removed some of those distractions we were talking about last month. Now what do? In a world that's filled with technology and screens and AI and all of these tools, we can sometimes kid ourselves and find many things to do online, keep ourselves busy, So just in case you think that there are more important things to do than getting busy with your hands, let's have a look at some of the things that make good old-fashioned handiwork so pleasurable, so rewarding, and a lot more worthy of your time. So number one, the quiet satisfaction of physical work. Let's have a look at some examples. For me, it's the feeling of the brush over the painting surface. You can feel the brush going over the canvas, you can hear it, you can smell the paints. You're taking physical activity, or you're moving your hands to get that brush going. Imagine you are a baker and you're baking sourdough bread. Do you know how it feels to knead that flour and get the dough to a certain consistency? Maybe it's woodwork and, the chisel on the wood, and you are taking waste pieces off. And all the time you are having to concentrate on doing something with your hands. It's a mind-eye hand coordination. The whole experience, the physical experience, is engaged. You've got to remember, your hands know things and your mind might not be able to explain it, but you don't have to try to justify it. It's an immediate sensory feedback. You get visual satisfaction, you can hear things. It is all about being engaged in that moment. Now, working with a screen, let's say digital art, for instance. Now, I've tried that many times, and I use digital art as a part of my teaching. If you've done any of my classes, occasionally you see I will use digital systems to illustrate something. It simply doesn't engage me like working with physical art materials. I can endlessly undo things and undo mistakes. I don't have to even give it a thought. It's that sort of working without a sense of consequences. And maybe I just find that boring. It simply doesn't keep me engaged and sort of glued to the task. Now, don't get me wrong, technology is a tool. This isn't an anti-technology rant. I'm using technology right now to record this chat, and I'm going to share it and upload it, and I'm going to use lots of technology for that, but as a tool, not as an artistic experience. Now, when I'm working physically with something, I make mistakes. I might have to scrape paint off. In the worst case, I have to throw the piece of paper away. I have to start again. There are consequences, and I have to commit to that process and the risk of making a complete mess. So when you're doing something by hand, it's reality. You're not just imagining it. You have to work at it. You have to make mistakes. You have to correct them. And you have to learn from those mistakes. It's also about getting the body involved. I think that maybe we have simply been evolved over many, many, many eons of time, evolved to ensure that our nervous system is engaged with meaningful work. Perhaps we simply know automatically that this is something important. Probably something to do with learning skills that were important. Maybe it was a life or death situation. You had to create tools to survive. You had to make them well. You didn't want them breaking in a tricky spot when you were facing something big and dangerous. I think when we are in a situation where there's no real consequences and it's easy, like I said, you might feel bored by it or simply not engaged in the sense of there is some risk, you have to pay attention. Remember last time I spoke about unitasking, that focus on that activity, giving it your all. Keeping your hands busy also helps to settle the mind. There are fewer mental tabs. You don't have all of these distractions and notifications and sounds. If you're working on a tablet or on your cell phone, there's going to be notifications coming probably every 5 minutes, some perhaps more. Even on a desktop, which I still think is the best way to use technology, computer technology anyway for me, I still get notifications there as well. Now I know there are ways to stop all of these distractions and notifications, but that in itself is more of a hassle. So what about using your time as well? There's a way of time traveling. Do you know you can actually time travel just by distracting yourself through meaningful work, engaging yourself? Because as we know, you look at the watch and suddenly you've realized 2 hours have gone by and it feels like 20 minutes. There's also the sense of recording your time, beginning, middle and end. You actually see that, you have evidence of it. That's also a way of showing that your effort and time have been used and in an important way, a meaningful way. We also love handmade things. I don't judge a handmade thing by how perfect it is. Yes, it's probably pretty darn good. You buy something, a piece of art for instance, or an object, a sculpture. Yes, it's done extremely well in most cases, but there are errors, there are mistakes. If you look carefully, you'll find something that maybe is just not quite 100% perfection, but that's perfectly fine too, isn't it? I want something created by a human, and I want an object. It might be something I can hang on the wall, it might be something I can carry and hold in my hands and enjoy. There is the need to engage with something that's material and real, and we love that as human beings. We've always been that way, and there's an honesty to it. Now all of this I think matters now more than ever. Our modern life is jam-packed with things that are helpful: automation, artificial intelligence. Yes, I know a lot of it is junk, but some of it might be helpful to you as a tool. We get to create things quicker. There's an endless amount of content. It brings me back to what I said earlier. All of this is a very convenient tool and helps us to do certain tasks. But is it art? Is it something I really want to look back at the end of the day and think, I really enjoyed that time in front of the computer for 5 hours? Amazing. I don't really feel that way. I don't feel that my spirit, my soul, all of those things were involved in that. I think it also comes down to choices. Some choices are pretty obvious. You need to travel a long distance, you're going to get in your car and you're going to drive there. You want to have a pleasant time, getting some exercise, some fresh air, you're going to go for a walk. It's a choice, different needs, different methods. So what I think is we need to choose to work more with our hands and make things to remind us we are participating in the world. We're not just consumers. We can create something material that can be enjoyed by people. Now, have you heard, for instance, of the 2016 nostalgia trend? I came across this just by accident. I didn't even know there was such a thing, but apparently we ended off last year with people saying that 2026 is the new 2016. What was that all about? Basically, 2016 was the time apparently when the perfect internet changed into something algorithm driven, where it was more about what a computer was telling us we needed to see than what we actually wanted to see. All those algorithms changed on social media, where now you weren't seeing what the people you were following were posting, but you were seeing things from people you didn't follow. And more of that was being pushed to you because maybe you showed an interest in a certain topic. So we got to see things that we weren't asking for, but a computer thought that we would like. And apparently this was to make us happier users of the technology. So the 2016 nostalgia trend is about looking back at what you were doing back then, reposting things you posted back then, or, I don't know, making your post look old. It's funny because when I think of nostalgia, I'm somewhere in 1986, not 2016. But I guess that makes me a relic of the past. It also reminds me of a song by ELO, and it was something about remember the good old 1980s when things were so uncomplicated, and you wish you could go back there again. Now, of course, the lyrics of ELO are excellent, of course, thanks to Jeff Lynne, one of the greatest. Why look back to 2016? Why look back to anything technology-wise? Let technology do what it does. There's nothing that we can do is going to stop that. All we can do is choose what we do with our own time. And therefore, we need to create more and create with our hands and engage ourselves in a physical activity like that. So what these 2016 nostalgic folks are talking about, I suppose, is also about having a bit more control over what they see on social media. Now, control is a big deal. What are we controlling these days? What can we control? Probably a lot less than we even can think about. So nostalgia is certainly a powerful thing in our lives, but I like to also remind myself I've got to be present right now. Make something by hand, you are present in the moment. You do something, you see what happened. Was it wrong? Was it right? You press on, you keep going. It's also about multitasking. Your hands can only do one thing at a time. Therefore, you have to focus on that and participating in the real world. Sometimes I think our participation in the electronic world, the social media, gets rewarded or punished depending on what some computer program is thinking. I use thinking in inverted commas there. You've probably seen, or I've noticed one or two artists on social media complaining about why their post gets so little likes, but one they posted yesterday got so many likes. What are they doing wrong? That's just letting an algorithm punish you. Why do you feel you've done something wrong? So, no, I would rather opt out of that system. I don't need to be rewarded or punished by an algorithm. All I need to know is, am I doing the right thing with my paintbrush or the pencil? I've deleted many of these apps from my phone. Apps on my phone, things that are sending me notifications, a lot of social media. Now you might think, Malcolm, you are so caught up in these things. You're on YouTube, you've got podcasts. all of that sort of thing. And that's true. But I've limited myself to working on a desktop computer during working time. And I can look at social media on my desktop when I need to, and I can post things from there, and I can do my editing. And this chat to you is all prepared on a desktop computer. And then when I'm finished, I walk away from that. I'm not checking my phone to see how well it's doing, or editing on my phone, or just scrolling away, because I am so over that. I'm so over scrolling on the phone. The only one thing I still keep on my phone, and that is emails. Email is not something I work a lot with, but sometimes it can be particularly important, and I might have to deal with that. Certainly, I don't need social media on my phone. I can interact with that in some downtime, maybe in the evening or in the morning. I can check on that. The amount of time that is freed up for me is absolutely amazing. So do what works for you, of course. Maybe you don't use a desktop at all. A lot of people simply work and are quite productive just on a phone or on a tablet. But if you've got choices, see what you can declutter, what technology you can declutter. All of this is to try to free up more time so you can make things by hand, feel better, feel more engaged with your day, your personal experiences, and have something meaningful. You can share that with somebody else. It's not about selling art, it's simply about creating and having that as evidence of time well spent. We have to slow down, we have to connect with our physical selves, and take a bit of care and attention for ourselves as well. So this is another chat in the Art and Modern Life series. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments. Also share some of the tips you might have, or your experiences with decluttering from the technology to find more time to create with your mind and hands engaged. All right, well, if you enjoyed this little chat as well, please feel free to share it with your friends or family that you think might get something out of it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss another one of these chats in the future. And look out for my free painting course, links up here or in the description, and get some inspiration to create some of your own art as well. All right, it's been nice chatting to you, and we'll do this again in a month or so's time. Until then, happy creating, and cheers for now.